G'day, welcome back to the channel. It's a daily occurrence now, this drone news stuff. So, might as well call it the drone news. There's always a bit of a rant in there though, isn't there? So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, I mentioned snowflakes. In a previous rant, I talked about snowflakes. You know, snowflakes are something that's so delicate and so vulnerable that at the slightest exposure to heat, they just melt away and they're gone forever. Well, here in New Zealand, we've got a snowstorm, a blizzard of snowflakes. Let me just tell you what I'm talking about. Yesterday evening, there was a report of a drone sighted near Auckland, which is our biggest city and has one of our largest airport. A drone was sighted. Now, this is the interesting thing. One media outlet reported the drone being sighted at 12,000 feet. That's 3.5 kilometres up in the air. 12,000 feet, which seemed pretty unlikely. Then another media outlet claimed it was at 365 metres, which is 1,200 feet. So so the media didn't get the facts right. So one of them was right, one of them was wrong. There's been no correction to either story, so I guess they both think they're right. So maybe the pilot was confused, I don't know. Anyway, so we had this drone somewhere between 1,200 and 12,000 feet sighted by a pilot near Auckland Airport, right? So there we go. And then there was another news agency came out and said it's a confirmed sighting, but there was no picture. There was no independent verification. What was the confirmation? Just the pilot said, yeah, no, confirmed. But no, well, there's no confirmation. So the media is just feeding us a line of crap again, as they do, because it puts eyeballs on pages and creates revenue from advertisers. And of course, as I mentioned in my story about snowflakes, the New Zealand Airline Pilots Association always, as soon as there's any kind of incident anywhere in the world, they issue press releases and they come out. And here's the headline in front of me now. It says, Air New Zealand and Airline Pilots Association called for drone crackdown after Auckland Airport scare. This is the one where they weren't quite sure whether it was at 1,200 or 12,000 feet, and they confirmed it without any evidence. How does that work? Anyway, so I'm going to read a little bit here. So excuse me for taking my glasses off. And it says, Air New Zealand and pilots are calling for a crackdown against rogue drone operators following another scare at Auckland Airport. And they, to be fair, a scare. They don't say there was a drone, they just say there was a scare because that's the only thing they could prove. It says, New Zealand Airline Pilots Association President Tim Robinson, where have I heard that name before, said it was, oh my God, heaven saves me. Do you know what he said, eh? I mean, you can probably guess. Well, let me read it out for you. He said, it was only a matter of when, not if, there would be a potentially deadly collision. I guess he's changed. It's not a case of it's only a matter of time before someone's killed. No, they've reworded it a bit. Maybe they watched my video. I don't know. Anyway, he says, the energy involved in that collision is huge. If it went into an engine, it could take out an engine. If it went into a wing or a fuel tank, it could pierce the wing skin and, heaven forbid, through the flight deck window. Well, it's interesting because the tests conducted in the UK showed that until you weaponized the drone by turning it into a bullet, it wouldn't go through a window of a passenger jet. And in fact, some Chinese footage that was floating around the internet, they did some tests. And although it cracked the window, it didn't go through. So Mr. Robinson's making stuff up again. Anyway, but it goes on. It gets worse. It gets worse. Let me just go down a bit here. He says the consequences of a bird strike were well known, and a drone collision would be worse, given that they can weigh up to 25 kilograms with solid components and batteries. Who amongst us here has a drone that weighs anywhere near 25 kilograms? That's 55 pounds. Anybody? No, I didn't think so. Mr. Robinson is pulling stuff out of his ass again. He's inciting hysteria and fear, and he's leveraging this fear for his own benefit and the benefit of his fellow snowflakes. It's like, what the hell are these people doing? They had no credibility, no credibility. Every drone that I know of, the only person I know who has a really large drone is a guy that flies here. He's got a DJI Agris, and there's no way he's going to be flying that thing more than a few meters above the ground because it's a commercial drone designed for spraying, right? Everybody else, Mavics, Phantoms, we're talking 1 kg. We're talking a 20th of the mass that Mr. Robinson is claiming is going to bring down an airliner. It's just utter bullshit. He's just full of it, totally full of it. What else? I haven't read it all. Let's read it together. The association wants compulsory registration of drones weighing more than 220 grams, while Air New Zealand is calling for a crackdown. Where's 220 grams come from? I mean, hang on a minute. Everyone else is 250. Why do they need to be different? 220 grams. And registration. How well is that working for you in the USA? Newark Airport. Did registration help? No, I don't think it did. In fact, it's never helped. It is a knee-jerk. It's more of a punitive action than a practical way of addressing what is perceived to be a problem. Now, speaking of Newark, I find it interesting. I expressed incredulity in respect to the claims made by the pilots yesterday. Now, nearly 24 hours later, a number of news outlets are doing the same thing. And Mr. Schulman, is it from DJI, has said, sounds pretty unlikely to me. So I led the way. I told you that it was pretty hard to, make that claim, and everyone else now is jumping on the bandwagon and saying, yeah, it does, something smells here, something smells. There you go, you heard it here first. And again, so here we got the New Zealand Airline Pilots Association demanding registration with absolutely, they're not strong on proof, are they? I mean, they make lots of weird and wild allegations and claims, but there's no proof. They never deal in facts. 25 kilogram drones. Where the hell are these 25 kg drones? Everyone I know flies a Mavic or a Phantom or a mini quad. Nowhere near that weight. And go through the cockpit of an aircraft, the cockpit window. None of the tests have shown that. None of the tests have shown that at all. And it's going to, so much energy, it's going to certain to cause death. In fact, it was very clever. Let's just go back a bit because I like the way they've worded this. They make it sound terrible whilst covering their arse. Let me just find it here. It's only a matter of when, not if, there would be a potentially deadly collision. All collisions are potentially deadly. If you hit a bird, a sparrow, it's potentially deadly. If you hit a leaf, it's potentially deadly. Anything could happen. So using potentially, he's sort of put the fear, uncertainty and doubt and the hysteria out there, but he's covered his ass because I only said potentially. This is, I don't know. You can see the frustration here because this is the man. Now, this is the man who's happy to talk to reporters who don't ask any challenging questions. They take everything as gospel because he's got epaulets. They don't ask him, the really important questions. He's happy to spout off every time he gets an opportunity, but he will not even reply to my emails. So, Mr. Robinson, I challenge you now. I'm calling you out. Mr. Tim Robinson of NZALPA, I want you to come online with me. We'll organise a hangout or something and we'll have a face-to-face discussion, and you can ask me questions, challenge my point of view. I'll ask you questions, challenge your point of view, and the world can watch. Now, if you are not a snowflake, then I'm sure you'll take advantage of this and you'll contact me and we'll get started, we'll do this. And the whole world can have this conversation and we can have someone representing your group of highly professional, skilled and trained pilots and someone representing the model aircraft and drone flying community. That sounds fair, doesn't it? I think it sounds fair. If you think that's fair, say so in the comments, people who are watching. If you think it's not fair, then also say so in the comments. And let's see if Mr. Robinson has got the testicular fortitude to front up to this, because I don't think he does, which basically, again, weakens his credibility, not that it's already not totally destroyed. So let's just have a quick breeze through. The CAA said it had not made a decision whether to investigate last night's sighting, but was calling for anyone who had seen it to come forward. If you saw there was a drone coming from where the drone was coming from, where it's heading to, or have any details, then contact CAA. So this was one of the news sources said it was confirmed, but it sounds to me like it's not confirmed because they're looking to find anybody who saw it. Okay, so again, the media cannot be trusted. Where are we? Oh God! One of the real concerning things that you are starting to see them being used maliciously. Who says this? Oh, Mr. Robinson, of course. One of the really concerning things is that you're starting to see them used maliciously. I don't think the politicians before Gatwick really considered them being used in this way. Who is to say that next Christmas one doesn't park itself over Auckland Airport or Heathrow? Again, there was no confirmation that there was even a drone at Gatwick. We don't have that. This is all allegations, no facts at all. Mr. Robinson, you live in a fairy world where reality is unknown to you, okay? And the CAA spokeswoman said the Ministry of Transport was working on changes to the rules to ensure they kept up with technology so that New Zealand can maximise the benefits of advanced drones used for commercial purposes while managing the risks associated with smaller drones used primarily for recreational purposes. It's just a whole lot of baloney, isn't it? It's the standard, it's what they spout out. It's all on a little cue card, and this is what we say if the media asks us a question. So, yeah, it's interesting because the authority believed educating people about how to fly drones safely was crucial. And this was a key focus for CAA. Well, now, this is interesting because if these sightings really were drones, I'd say that's valid, but we have no evidence of these drones. So it doesn't matter. We could have 100% compliance from the drone community with all the rules. We could have 100% rock solid adherence to every single rule, and I bet you anything you like, airline pilots would still see drones, even because they're not there. Most of the time, they are not there. Yes, I have to say this, sometimes idiots get a hold of drones and do really stupid things. Now, nobody watching this video, least of all me, although I'm not watching the video, but anyway, nobody here would ever condone anyone using a drone in a manner that threatened personal property. I don't think anyone in the audience, certainly not me, would condone that. In fact, I would be the first person to beat them to a bloody pulp if I caught someone really seriously endangering life or property. That's just it. I mean, we've got to protect our position. We've got to work from the high ground. We've got to be seen to be self-policing. So that's what would happen. I'm not out here advocating, oh, let us fly at airports. No. I am the biggest safety Nazi in the world when it comes to this whole issue. But I'm also a realist. I also like to deal in facts. I've been around for 66 years and I have a background in science and engineering where facts are the most important thing. You can't just make stuff up like Mr. Robinson does. You can't do that. You can't do that and have any credibility. But that's what Mr. Robinson does. Okay, that's pretty much all in that report. So I'll put a link to this news bulletin in the bottom, in the description on this video, and I invite you to go and have a look. I'll also put a link to the 2 news stories I spoke about, or the 3 news stories I spoke about, which give wildly different reports of the same incident, which to me means that nobody really knew what happened, and maybe they're just making shit up and they got their story wrong when they told one of the medias, or they couldn't keep their story consistent. I don't know. But there we go. Mr. Robinson, come on, prove you're not a snowflake. Contact me. We'll set up a live stream where we can both discuss the issues, we can counter each other's point of view, and maybe we'll get some questions from the audience. Now, if we manage to get this sorted, I'd like to hear from you guys. What would you like me to ask Mr. Robinson as a representative of the world's airline pilots? Put your questions in the comment section below. And spread word of this video, these videos I'm doing, because it's really important. Now, we know there are millions of drone flyers out there. I think it's important that every single one of them is kept up to date with what's going on. Tell them to watch this. Tell them to subscribe to the channel, right? They can ignore the stuff they're not interested in, but there's an increasing number of regular bulletins like this because of all the crap that's going down with the media and with pilots. So point them this way, get them to sign up, and then they'll know and they can participate and they can have a say in the future of their hobby, our hobby. It's really important because for evil to prosper requires only that good men do nothing. Let's not do nothing. Let's go out and take on the good fight. Let's represent our hobby and let's expose all this crap, lies and fear-mongering that's going on at the moment. There you go. If you like that, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs up. Just give me a thumbs up anyway. And stay tuned, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Thank you to my Patreon supporters who make it possible for me to do this and keep you informed. Okay, bye for now.